Welcome to Rise Above the Grind. I am your hostess, Alissa Bickar, the consultress, bringing you cutting edge conversations from entrepreneurs who are at the forefront of bringing value to today's world and solving today's problem. Today, I have John Reed with me, a sales strategist, and I would call him. How do I sum up all the experience that is John?
Yeah,
I will
yeah. So
say,
I know it's tough. It's a big challenge. I know.
no, wait,
Just
let me.
I'm a fractional, which means part-time fractional chief revenue officer. So I help
Yeah.
companies make sure their revenue is increasing on a consistent and predictable way.
Yeah, and so I think what was jamming my circuits there is not only do you do this fractionally as part of a team, but you also help to develop and grow teams. And you
Yep.
help train people to be able to do that properly, profitably. So there's a whole bunch of ways that I could describe all the goodness that you bring to the world. But when we had our first conversation, it was kind of love at first sight, business wise. And we had the
Mhm.
Barney meeting, as you have lovingly named it. It's that one that you have all the time, the first one where it's I love you, you love me, that's great, let's see what we could do together, and then sometimes radio silence, but not in
Right.
this case. So John,
Right.
the reason why I brought you on here today is because I believe that you bring a vast array of knowledge from your sales background and from your career at large, as well as the multiple life pivots that you've come through. So I'm very interested to hear your multifaceted perspective on, what we always open this conversation with. We always start with, what's your definition of grind? How do you think about that word? Because we do live in a time where our lexicon is changing more rapidly than our ability to connect with each other. So let's
Right.
just open that inquiry up and, tell us a little bit about what grind means to you, has meant to you, and we'll take
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, great. And keeping the theme of multifaceted, I thought about this a bit and how it applies to me or how I apply it to, the definition. And I came up with two definitions that kind of speak to me. And the first one, I got formally, if you will, from dictionary.com, which is my go-to, right? I'm just saying
it.
it's my go-to for all things definition-wise. And in that, it said basically to the point that it grind means to sharpen or to hone and to provide focus, right? So if you think about an axe, you're grinding it, you're making it sharp, and so that that actually is one definition that speaks to me. The other definition is a bit of a counterpoint to that, and maybe in conflict with it, and that is the day-to-day suboptimal tasks that we all, need to do, maybe don't want to do, but have to do just to keep our business going. So, if you think about it, those two things are kind of in conflict. How do you keep your business approach sharp? How do you keep your talents sharp? How do you keep your approach and your knowledge of your space, whether it's domain space or whether it's certain aspects of how you provide services to others? How do you keep that edge sharp? And then how do you get above that grinding of stuff you got to get done that is kind of menial, but you have to do it. So is that
Yeah,
helpful? Okay.
I think so. What occurs to me is, you know, grinding like sharpening and then grinding like pulverizing.
Yeah.
It's the same activity done to two different substances.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of what we get to take into account as entrepreneurs is we get to choose what expires us and what inspires us. So what is in fact grinding to make us sharper, grinding to bring our focus into place, into purview in a useful way, and what then is the things that are taking us away from that focus or prohibiting us from getting to that focus,
Right.
because having the discernment to see which substance you are at any given time changes the definition. So what I love
Right.
is that while they look like they are opposing those definitions, they are taken in two different contexts, like a millstone versus a sharpening tool.
Right.
So I guess my next question for you is like, you've seen these dynamics at play in your life and in your business. especially when it comes to focusing on sales, because I mean, I'll be the first to admit, sales is one of those things that is on my growth edge that previously has expired me to the point of resistance of not wanting to do it. And so this is
Mhm.
why, selfishly, one of the reasons I wanted to have you here on this discussion is because how do you see those two factors as it comes to, the value you're creating by helping people develop their sales strategy, their sales team, their sales focus?
Right. Yeah. So the sharpening of the axe, if you will, is think of it as continuous improvement in many ways, right? So if we just are happy with the status quo and the way we're doing things is working, and that's the mindset that we have, others will pass you by, and will, start taking your business or relationships or, whatever. So you have to, all these are my personal opinions, but you have to keep pace with, or maybe even ahead of the curve on, what the current trends are. And in my case, sales and how it applies to the different, verticals and companies that I help. And that, that's a challenge. There's new concepts, new approaches, certainly new technologies that come up, almost on a minute by minute basis on the technology side that you need to be aware of at the very least and look for ways in which you can leverage it. You can't be, so I'm speaking to AI as an example. Um, you can't be afraid of it. You have to know about it. You have to research it. You have to embrace it and find ways to use it to your advantage. Just one example. So grind relative to sharpening your axe is a continuous improvement of your skill sets to my mind. And just stepping outside of technology for a minute, it's embracing new ways in which to, and again, in the case of sales, new ways in which to, in my case, help my clients better their sales organizations or their sales approaches. So there's new ways to develop strategies. There's new ways to implement sales programs. There's new ways to compensate salespeople. There's new ways to make sure that you've got diversity in your talent pool so that you assign responsibilities to different people to have them execute on different portions of the sales process so you can optimize that process as an example. So that,
Right.
that applies to, I'll say, a bit of the larger companies, on the scale, but if you have the wherewithal to broker different people to do different things, that's one thing that you can do and grow your business more effectively, just as an
Yeah.
example.
So the
Um,
delegations are coming from that grind, like limiting growth capacity, and the sharpening that I heard is on the growth edge of continuous and never-ending improvement of your skill sets, your talents, keeping sharp on your market space. So you know, as mere mortals, having the ability to learn and grow and expand, it kind of necessitates the second kind of grind where you have to realize what to leverage, let go of, and empower other people. Like I keep saying this book that I've been reading lately, Who Not How by Dan Sullivan and Benjamin Hardy. And that is, putting the right people in place so that you can sharpen and focus. Because sometimes in that arena, you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't sharpen
right,
and get clear and get focused and on purpose and then wear all the hats. This is like
right,
the never ending entrepreneur conundrum, for when, even when you're just starting out, if you're a solo or a small organization, multiple people wearing multiple hats. How do you know when to put what hat on? And I think having a clear purpose or clear directives around what's important helps people to dial into that lane of specificity. So in terms of you and your story, like, when did you kind of come to terms with a shift in the grind for yourself? I know in the green room we were talking about, your next act of, your personal life taking a change and your business focus taking on a new definition for yourself. So when have you seen evolution of what grind means to you as you have come through your career journey?
Right. Yeah, great question. So, one of the first comments I made was that this is maybe I didn't make it this way, but this is a journey, right? I'm on a journey. I think we're all on a journey. I haven't reached my endpoint yet, hopefully. Um, so improvement happens on a continuous basis. So I don't think there was one falling off the cliff event, if you will, that was so seminal in my journey that that was the one thing that changed things. But so I am still evolving and developing. So I have done as much as I can within my mortal capacity here to maintain, and this speaks to the two definitions of grind, to maintain the personal connection that I like to have with my clients and try to balance that with being more efficient and effective. And that speaks to automation as an example. So how do I balance? So as an example, I have a meeting. We all take meetings. What do I do as follow-up? Well, one of the things is to document what happened in that meeting to the person that I had the meeting with, and that means an email typically, and here are the things we talked about, and here's what we agreed to, and here are the next steps that we agreed to. So that I would love to push a button and have all that happen and have it happen in a very personal way. You can certainly push a button and have your note taker collect all the elements of your conversation on a Zoom call, as an example, and have it consolidated and pushed into an email. So I'm trying to balance that with making sure that it doesn't come across as an AI generated
Robotic.
response to our meeting, right?
Right.
So there's a balance there that I haven't perfected yet, but I just want to make sure that I'm taking advantage of efficiencies that I can, yet still have that personal connection tone that I think is important.
And I think that's something that is very useful for all of us. I'm writing it down here in the chat, and we're seeing some of our panelists pop in with some reflections on this. So, and I think it's really important to stay efficient as well as personal. Part of what I put together in terms of my IP, my give to the world, is marrying the tactical and practical with the personal and the evolutionary. How do you empower people at the same time as being specific? How do you have a strategy that works with implementation as well as caring for other people and being generative? Like, I think AI brings that term generative to the table, and I think it's like one of the best words that has joined the lexicon these days, because it
Mhm.
is something that helps to promote connection and continue to create new solutions. And that's what I believe entrepreneurship is for. We're out here
Mhm.
solving emergent problems with new and innovative ways of bringing our existing resources together in new patterns, bringing new resources to the table. So, John, thank you for sharing with us kind of what's going on for you in your evolution so we can all learn from it. Now that you've been here and exposed to the audience, where can people go to find out more about you and to connect with you?
Yeah, so I appreciate this opportunity. This has been great. My email is jreed, the letter J, R-E-E-D, jreed at salesacceleration.com. So let me spell it out for you because it's spelled a little differently than you might expect. So it's S-A-L-E-S, sales, then XCELERATION.com. Sales Accelerate. So it's jreed at salesacceleration.com.
Yes, right on.
Shoot me an email. I'm on LinkedIn, John Reed. I am not the John Reed that is buried in the Kremlin wall or that was the CEO of Citibank at one point. I'm a different John Reed. So Thank
Well,
you.
it's good to meet this John, the one that we brought here on purpose to help sharpen our edge and soften maybe some of what expires us by focusing on what really will move the needle in our businesses. Thank you so much. For those of you here on the broadcast, stay tuned. We have another amazing guest lined up for you right after this. Don't go away.